welcome everybody to Spin Legal. It is the 17th of March. Therefore, it's what, St. Paddy's Day, isn't it?
Happy St. Paddy's Day.
Yeah, and everybody has to wear green. Okay, all right. Well, there's my green for the day. There you go.
I have a green tattoo.
It's a green file too. I have here too.
Yeah,
I ordered greens. I ordered salads today at lunch.
There we go. Yeah, there we go. Yep, there we go. All green files, so we can proudly say put a bit green on. But I was commenting at lunchtime how that was really takes to be a North American thing, doesn't it? Okay. Yeah. So welcome everybody, and if you need to contact Invictus Legal, you can do so on 905-688-5598. You can email Angela at weareinvictus.legal, or myself using Peter at weareinvictus.legal, and the website is weareinvictus.legal. So the question of the day realistically is, what do you need to do to become a lawyer in Ontario? And hey, Josh, you did some investigating on this, didn't you?
I did do some investigating. I've always known I'm adversarial and like to argue with people. So while I was doing my BA at Brock University, I thought, I want to go become a lawyer. I want to fight for people. So I knew I needed a bachelor's degree, which I was in the process of getting. Then, I had to do the LSAT, which I wasn't going to be too worried about. But when I started looking into tuition costs to become a lawyer in Ontario, I realized it was a barrier that was unrecoverable. I wasn't gonna come across it.
Well, that is actually one of the biggest problems. That really is one of the biggest problems in terms of the access to the law, is that I think that we end up that to do a bachelor's degree of any kind is about $6,500 to $7,000 to $8,000, right?
And that's assuming you can finish your undergraduate in 4 years, but the majority of us do their undergraduate in 5.
Right. That was $6,500 to $8,000 per year.
Yeah.
Assuming you're not going to go to a Harvard or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. That's assuming you're going to just the college down the road. So then if you add it, what's the next stage? First of all, okay, so what do we need to do? So first obvious one is you've got to finish your high school diploma, first of all, right?
That seems like a fair first step. You want the foundations, right?
Yeah, you've got to have your basic foundations. For me, when I was at school, you had to do A-levels, which is the same as your Ontario secondary school diploma.
Yep.
Right. So you do a bachelor's degree of some kind. So had you done a bachelor's degree?
I have a BA in political science with a minor in sociology. And I was well on my way with those 2 pieces of paper to entering law school until, like I said, that cost.
Until you found out the sticker shock.
Yeah.
And okay, so that's an interesting one. And Angela, back in your day, what did it cost to do a bachelor's degree?
I think I came out of school and all that with about $60,000 or something with loans, but then I had more than one bachelor, and I had other education too. And I didn't get any help at all from anybody, so I just paid for it and got a loan.
And how long ago was that?
In the 90s.
Yeah, I did my my degree in the 90s, and in England it was $500 a year.
And it shouldn't be more than that.
Yeah.
People should be able to access an education to get where. Right now, they're trying to make it even worse for people who are trying to rely on OSAP.
But we can look back at your situation, Angela, in the 90s, and you're about 60 grand in debt, but you had multiple degrees. If I look at my student loan debt, not counting my college courses, just my university run, I'm about $38,000 in debt with one degree.
Yeah, and that's not good. That's not good either. I used to do a lot of that stuff, and it was fine at that time because I was working and doing it. So, and then I paid it all off at one point. I just put money out of my RSPs and I paid for it.
Yeah. All right. The next stage in terms of going to your legal education is in North America is doing your LSAT. You were telling me, Josh, that that's done by a company that deals with that, right? It's
From my deep understanding of all the research I tried to do when I was looking at law school, the law school admission test, it's kind of like those standardized tests you hear about elementary school kids taking in the United States. It's usually a company that administers them. They get the results, they hand it on to the Department of Education. It's very similar with the LSAT. The LSAT here is administered in Ontario, would be administered by the same organization that administers it in, say, California or New York State or something like that. So it's pretty uniform across North America.
So the LSAT,
it's not about knowledge in law. It's about preparation. Like, what are your intellectual foundations?
Exactly.
Yeah, and logic. Yeah.
Because obviously the legal requirements here in Ontario would be, a lot different than, say, California.
Yeah.
But we're all looking at the same basic problem solving and intellectual levels.
Can you solve problems? Can you think through things logically? Like that, remember that.
And the cost of that one right now is the LSAT is $248 US. So that's approximately 350 Canadian.
Yep.
And essentially, what's the score you need to come out with that?
I can't remember for the life of me what they look for the LSAT scores.
Okay. I just wondered if you knew that.
And then afterwards, then you can go out with your LSAT, and then you can apply to different law schools.
Yeah. Let's assume you passed your LSAT, and now you're going to apply to your law schools like across Canada that are going to be U of T and a few others like that, right?
Metropolitan University, whole bunch of there's several law schools in Ontario.
I looked into McGill University in Quebec because they're pretty high class there.
Yeah,
McGill is good too.
Isn't McGill for Canada what you would call as an Ivy League school?
100%. 100%. It's one of the most prestigious schools in Canada, alongside the University of British Columbia.
A lot of politicians.
It's also the oldest Canadian school, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
If we had an Ivy League, McGill would be right.
Politicians went to McGill.
So you're saying a number of politicians have been at McGill?
Angela. Yeah, as well as Osgood and U of T.
I can tell you a good as a Quebecer myself, a good portion of the Quebec government politicians, the ministers that were in the old Liberal government from 15 years ago, a lot of them were McGill graduates.
Okay. All right. Now you've applied to law school. What then do you have to do at law school? That's the next real question here, because you've got to do a thing called, you do your LLB, and then you do a Juris Doctor. Is that correct? That's, I think, the way it works.
I believe in Canada, you just complete the Juris Doctor at law school.
Yeah, it's a Juris Doctor. They changed it. It used to be an LLB in the past, for bachelors of law, as they called it. But now they made it into a Juris Doctor.
Which is also a pretty uniform term across North America.
Because the Americans use JD too.
Yep.
Okay. So essentially, the LLB that I did in Britain doesn't have an equivalent in North America.
Not by name. I'm sure you can probably go in there.
You can very easily compare your British LLB to a Canadian JD.
Yeah, okay. Because there's people rocking around and who are practicing law in Canada who just have an LLB.
Yeah.
Like, because they got their degree before it changed over to a JD.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is if I understand it, where the majority of the costs come, because this is where the whole cost of this ramps up.
Is your first year of law school.
Yeah, because the tuition in there can become somewhere between about $20,000 to $30,000 annually.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I was looking at when I was investigating law school options after I was going to graduate from Brock University, I was told by a lot of advisors to expect anywhere between $75,000 and $100,000 to make it through to the end.
Yeah. Yeah. And it didn't used to be like that.
And this is before you've even qualified as a lawyer.
Before I'd even qualified as a lawyer, I've spent $100,000.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
now we have to go past the barrister and the solicitor exam.
Well, and I was going to say, then you've got still more stages to do.
There is more stages.
Yeah, because you've not finished at that point. And hey, that's not to say that, you know, so when I did my LLB, the first class, the opening class on the opening day of the LLB, there was standing room only left in the lecture hall. There were more than 250 people in that lecture hall, and by the end of the first term, there were only about 150 people left on the course, and by the end of the entire course, after 4 years, there was only 50 people left.
Sounds about right.
Right. So it's a massive dropout when you go to do like the JD program.
Yeah.
And they expect that. So essentially, when you think about that you're going to put in on the line $100,000, and you might come out with nada.
Yeah,
that's exactly what could happen.
You have to consider whether it's better buying a house,
yeah,
investing in a business, or going to law school.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people in today's economy, even they might have the most brilliant legal mind you could possibly imagine. But if they're faced with that choice, they're probably going to buy a house to put a roof over their partner's head or their children's head, and they're going to try to eat, right?
Yeah.
There's also a little known fact that once you're actually enrolled in your law school, you're limited to how much outside employment you can have.
Okay.
Yeah, that felt
15 hours a week is your cap.
Sorry?
15 hours per week of employment is your cap in law school. If you're caught working beyond that, they could expel you from the school because you're not following the rules. So that's even more proof that law school today is only meant for rich people. Yeah,
it's made for people who are on trust accounts from their parents.
So essentially what you're telling me is that in order to get through law school, you've probably got to be an escort if you're going to do your 15 hours.
An escort, a stripper, or stop eating.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And maybe live in a cardboard box under a bridge because I can't afford rent.
Which is actually, when you think about it, when I did my LLB, I did a part-time LLB. So I was working 40 hours a week, sometimes even 50 or 60 hours a week, and doing a part-time LLB in the evenings 3 nights a week.
Mm-hmm. And part-time work at school is not an option here.
No, you're full-time for 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're forced into full-time.
Yeah.
Because they want you to
Is that purely Canada, or is that is that the US as well?
That's happening to a lot of American students as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And the Americans are even worse. They pay a lot more for their tuition.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the Ivy League. If you went to Harvard, you'd be looking at $200,000 for a law degree.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And no guarantee that you're going to practice later.
Yeah, absolutely. Because and sometimes if you go to the Ivy League, whilst your option to get into some of the best firms may be there, if you have a blip along the way, your record is anything less than straight A's, the chances are you're not going to get to those prestigious law firms.
Nope.
Mm-hmm.
You can work for the Department of Justice with no experience.
Well, you see, when I did my LLB, I did it at a, I didn't go to Oxford or Cambridge. I did it at University of West London.
That's okay.
Right. So it was just a nothing school.
That's like when I did my degree at Brock University. It's not an Ivy League school. It's, as you put out at the beginning, it's the college down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that for me was the reason why I went there, because it's less than a 10-mile trip from home to the front door of the school.
Exactly.
Right.
So you have family support around you, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I've got to bring up my kid at the same time. You know,
we still have to live a life, right?
Yeah, and I'm still working 40 hours a week. So, and we were doing as much work as the full-time law students. Right.
So, yeah.
So
you had that option over there
yeah.
to still be able to control your life and put everything in place.
And,
like Angela said, here it's your full time or your no time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And let's be honest about it, is that it is not easy. It's not easy going through law school.
No.
Right. That course and the JD course in Canada is as tough. It's one of the toughest degrees out there.
It's meant to break the people who are just there for show.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And I don't have any problem with that, because having gone through the LLB, there's we whittled it down from just under 50. So I think it was 48 that passed. So that graduated. All right. So we went from 250 to 48 in 4 years.
Yep. About an 80% drop.
Yeah. And so I was asking one of my lecturers about that. So what was, is this normal? Absolutely. They plan on it every single year.
Well, and that's why a lot of times they don't have the bigger lecture hall, because they know that the 250 or 300 people that are there right now aren't going to be there next term.
Yeah.
They might not even be there halfway through that term.
Well, right? Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, we did English legal system, which was the first course we ever did, and that was the one which had 250 in it. And by the end, by Christmas, we were down. There was more than adequate room to find a seat, and you could probably lie across 3 or 4 seats quite easily there. But if you were lying across 3 or 4 seats, you were doing something wrong.
They might expel you for that.
Probably. Probably. So actually, the cost barriers we've been talking about are just half of the problem, because you still have to be damn good at the academically.
Yeah, you do.
Right. And I don't think anybody in this room is going to say, "Hey, that standard should come down." We don't ever do that, right?
But I think the problem now is that standard, if they were to start reducing law school tuition, I think the standard might start falling. Because now we might get some of those, people who are just there for show sticking around because it's affordable. And then we have people who have no business practicing law out there practicing law. But
again, anyway, if you don't, there are some brilliant people that come from, from working class families that will never make it through law school. Not because they don't have the educational capability, but just because they cannot afford to do it.
No, and that's the thing. I know when I was doing
a financial thing and a time pressure thing.
Yeah.
When I did my undergraduate, I know there was a couple of times where it was crunch time around exams. I had to slow down on work. So I wasn't, grocery shopping as much as I should have been. And there was many times just doing my undergraduate political science where I said, I can't do this. I'm going to go work a job just so I can eat properly 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Right? I'm glad I didn't in the end. I'm glad I have that piece of paper, but I almost tossed it just because affording to live was becoming difficult.
Yeah.
And that was just a basic undergrad degree.
Okay. So we've been talking about the standard route in Canada about going through law school, but there are alternatives, right? Let's be honest, there are alternatives, and one of those alternatives is to take a foreign law degree, come in through the NCA, and then you can do your bar exam and be called. Right? We haven't talked about the bar exam before. Sorry?
Like somebody in the room is trying to do.
Well, not only do I have a foreign law degree, but I was also called to the bar in a foreign land as well.
But I think the problem with that is, sure, a foreign law degree might be a hell of a lot cheaper. But if I was to move somewhere where that law degree is a hell of a lot cheaper, I don't have a support network. I don't have family or friends. So I'm going there with nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it might be just as difficult. And then there's cultural barriers. If I'm in another country that may not be, English speaking, there's cultural barriers now.
Yeah. And for example, you bring up a very good point. One person, a paralegal we had we had here at Invictus a couple of years ago, actually went to Leicester University in England. So he did an English law degree in England that was catered for foreigners who were coming into England. And yeah, you're right. Exactly. Part of the problem is he's leaving his family in Canada. They have to fend for themselves while he qualifies in England.
Yeah. I mean, kudos to him. That takes a lot of courage, but it's not an option for some people, right?
Yeah, yeah. And when he came back, of course, the thing he still has to do is he then has to do his NC National Accreditation Authority exam. National Accreditation Authority. No, National Credit. I forget what it
National
means.
Committee for Accreditation.
Accreditation. Thank you. And this is supported by the Federation of Law Societies of Canada. So you have to do your NCA in order to qualify to do your bar exam before you can be called. Right? And you still have to do articling. Right?
Oh, so even though you've done the degree somewhere else, you have to do the 10 to 12 months of articling when you come over here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's talk about articling, because articling in itself is typically it has to be paid nowadays. Back in the day, it was unpaid.
So imagine there's another financial barrier of working for a year for free.
Yeah.
Yeah. After you just spent a whole bunch of money going to school.
I'm $100,000 in the hole. And if this was back in the day, as you say, I'm working now a year for absolutely free. Yeah. So it's even more proof that this is only for trust fund babies.
Yep.
Yeah. And so articling is quite, and articling, the thing about articling is a good firm will take you through everything that you need to do. If you're working for a law firm, they'll send you, for a big practicing law firm, they'll send you to do criminal. They'll send you to do small claims court. They'll send you to do the tribunals. They'll send you to do the superior court. They'll send you to do everything in turn, right? And often, like you do with nursing, where you go around the hospital, you'll go around the firm as an articling student.
And you get a taste for all the different areas of law.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not a bad thing to do, because in fact, you might come out of law school with kind of, well, I'd like to do this and I like to do that and I like to do the other and I like to, so you got 5 or 6 options of things you might be thinking about doing when you become a lawyer. But
you actually touch those areas, you don't know if you actually want to do them. Yeah.
And in fact, you might say, oh, I want to do criminal law. I'm really into defending people. And then you go into criminal court and you go, one day in there and you go, I'm never going to do this again.
Or unless you're someone like me who always had this dream of being a high profile criminal lawyer, getting people off of murder charges. And the first time I had to do a criminal intake, I was sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
So at that moment, I am not going to be a criminal lawyer of any kind.
Yeah, exactly. But again, that's one of the good things about articling is you get that all-round thing, and you see all the areas of law and how they play out. And that's the point at which you kind of go, yeah, well, okay, I'm going to twiddle my thumbs and I'm going to just do house closings for my life, right?
And get my law clerks to handle everything.
Yeah, I mean, doing real estate closings, that's good money.
It is. It's hard work, but good money.
But they can have it. I don't like real estate.
That's fine. But again, it takes a specific type of personality to do those kinds of things. Another area that you might well do, occurs to me, might well be, for example, creating companies. Right?
If you're a corporate-minded person, I think that'd be a great field to get into.
Yeah. And there's probably plenty of money to be made from that, right?
Contracts and contract disputes.
Well, yeah, and exactly. And again, us as paralegals, we're litigation people. So when it comes to actually the being a lawyer, though, you kind of make this choice. You can pass the bar and you can become a person who argues in court, or you can just be a solicitor who writes contracts and
wills and powers of attorney,
like
real
that.
estate deals, family law separation agreements. Hey, that would be interesting.
And those people don't normally go on to write the bar because they don't argue in court.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of them just choose a solicitor-based practice because they choose not to do a lot of litigation. And there's others who do a lot of litigation, and there seems to be a lot less of them.
Well, I think if I had made it through law school, we'd have one extra because I like to litigate.
Yeah. Well, okay. So then, if you were to go to law school, knowing what you do today, do you have choices?
Knowing what I know today, my personal situation, no, I don't have choices. I've explored them all. I've attacked them from every possible angle. Talked to every single person in my support network. There's no choices.
Yeah,
it's a dead dream for me now.
So even if so again, okay, so if you won the lottery and you won $6 million on the lottery,
now it's not a dead dream. That was the only condition. If you give me the Lotto Max numbers for Friday night and I hit all 7 numbers, I'm going to McGill University for law school.
Yeah, I figured that would be your answer.
But that's the same as calling it a dead dream.
Yeah. Other than that, yes, it is a dead. I get it. It's a dead dream. Yeah. Okay. So So essentially, we said post actually going to do your JD, you've got to go to, first of all, you've got to do articling. So you've got to spend a year working for a law firm, doing their cases, and that's not a bad thing. Then you will go on and you've got to pass your bar exam. And then at some point you'll be called to the bar once you've gotten through that element, all that tough area. Called to the bar, actually, they do have celebrations, and a number of companies do sponsor calls to the bar. So individuals can be sponsored. If you're an articling student, let's say at Sullivan Mahoney's or Galway, no, I've got the name wrong. Lancaster, Chown and Welsh, or I was trying to think of the one in Hamilton.
Yeah.
But I can't remember the name. Then you might well have a special call to the bar ceremony that might involve judges and members of the bench. Right.
A lot more razzle dazzle than when we passed the bar exam.
Well, again, okay. Let's talk for a few minutes about the paralegal route, because essentially the paralegal route is a lot easier. You still have to qualify to get in most schools, right? You'd have to have done your high school education and have a reasonable score. Most schools actually have some, scoring. They need to know that you can speak English or French.
Yep.
Right. Even if you're speaking French, even if you were speaking French, I think you'd have to know English as well. Let's be honest about it.
A certain amount.
In Ontario, right?
Oh yeah.
And because I've never heard of anybody who passes the licensing exam in French for paralegal.
There are some who practice in French.
There are some who practice in French, but I believe
when I got my materials from the Law Society of Ontario last year, I was given a PDF for my study material in both French and English.
Oh, you were? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
In mine.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, there you go. Okay. All right. And even there, there's a possibility you spend what, $20,000 on paralegal school?
No. I think for me, when I went to Mohawk, to do my 2-year program. I think in total, I'm probably only in about $13,000.
Okay. I think then mine at Trios was a little bit higher than that because I was into about 15.
Well, I could be wrong also because my first year at Mohawk College was during COVID lockdowns, and a lot of student loans that year were grants. So that could be why my total was a bit lower.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. And again, you still get called to the bar. Not that it's called the bar at this point. You do your licensing exam. If you pass there, you've got the right to be called as a paralegal.
And as we all know how long that takes when you have paralegal candidates working in your office going cuckoo for 7 weeks.
Yeah. But we get there eventually, right?
We get there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then you go, yippee!
I do my dance. I'm a big kid now. Josh is gone.
I can see that. What happened there?
I don't know. He froze first.
Yeah, I noticed that. Let's put him off and let's put him back on and see where that goes. No, he's back on, but he's not. Anyway, doesn't matter. We've kind of come to the end anyway. So, you know, so I hope people, if they call to the bar, good luck to them. I hope that all goes well for them. And if you're going through this process, keep at it. What would you say, Josh?
Keep at it.
Yeah, yeah. You've got it. It's tough, but I think that at the end it's rewarding.
It is.
Right. And I you know, and hey, having passed the bar myself, albeit in a foreign country, I still want to I'm still going to have to pass the bar again.
Yeah.
If I'm
going
going
to go 2 times.
Yeah. Yeah, but you see, you know what's going to end up happening. So if anybody ever asks me, "Hey, when were you called to the bar?" Do you know what I'm always going to say, don't you?
1935.
2002, not 2027.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because it will just slip my mind. Anyway, thank you for being here, Josh.
Thank you.
All right, and just to let everybody know, if you need to contact Invictus Legal LLP, you can do so on 905-688-5598, or you can email out Angela at weareinvictus.legal, myself at peter@weareinvictus.legal, and Josh at Joshua at weareinvictus.legal.
I like to litigate.
And he does like to litigate.
Mm-hmm.
And this final bit is for Angela.
So what you heard today on Spin Legal, whether it's this show or others in this series, is not legal advice. If you need specific legal advice, then please contact a paralegal or a lawyer. We'd like you to come to Invictus Legal, but anyways, contact a paralegal or a lawyer. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. And well, glad to have had you with us, Josh. And if I can even speak, yeah. And I wish everybody a great week, and we'll see you next week. Bye.